I'm really excited to be here. I was kind of asked here because I'm a hip-hop head. I'm a huge hip-hop head. I love hip-hop. It's one of the most important things to me, as I'm sure it's like really important to all of you. And something I guess I want to talk about. Well, I guess I'll give you my background first. You know, I'm a professor here at Ryerson University. I am a comic artist as well. I could do that, and I'm also really into music. And talking with Netta about this, you know, what I discovered, or what we kind of discovered, is that we need to like kind of get everything together. And so I want to give you some of my experiences with hip hop and like kind of how I got into this whole area. So kind of how it started out, and I don't know if you like, does everybody have like their first like hip hop song that made you love hip hop? Like, does everybody have one? What's yours?
Pee Up on a Tree, Run DMC.
Pee Up on a Tree, Run DMC. Official. What about you right there?
The Real Some Shady.
The Real Some Shady. That's more official than Run. No. The first hip hop song, and I don't even know if you want to call this a hip hop song, but the first thing that let me into hip hop, that said, that told me like, man, I really want to get into this, was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air opening theme song. All right, like that was my stuff right there, right? I mean, that was what, 91, something like that. So like I heard that and I was like, you know, like I could rap, you know, like when I heard that I was like, I can rap. Everybody can rap. This is great. This is wonderful, right? So it got me in, you know, no matter how corny it is and no matter how like far-fetched that might be. That was the first thing that let me understand that, like, you know, rhyming words over beats can reach a lot of people. You know, you can talk to a lot of people with that. You know, it's not like super loud music and you can't understand the lyrics, and it's not like boring and melodic and you don't want to really get into it. You know, but it had a storyline. You know, it had cleverness, it had wittiness. You know, and it was simple, it was corny, but you know, it brought me happiness. And that was the first thing that I needed, right? And like, not everybody is gonna have like, you know, that cool first song. Not everybody's gonna be like, yo, the first thing I listened to was 36 Chambers, right? You know, like, you know, because I've always been like a real hip hop head, right? And I think that's something about my genesis in hip hop that I think a lot of, you know, other heads, you know, share. Your first thing that you listened to wasn't like the dopest track that you ever heard, right? So what happens is I was talking about with my man Toshi, who's in the audience, right there, and we were talking about sort of how you need, you know, training wheels when you're going through hip hop. And I, as a hip hop head, needed training wheels. You know, I started out with Fresh Prince. I think I moved to like MC Hammer was my next deal, you know, and then, you know, you keep moving on, you keep moving up, and then like I think it was around. I think it was 94, 95, you know, somewhere around there. Actually, no, it was later than that, like 98, right? And Quimini came out. And all the way up until then, it was, you know, your MC Hammers, like pretty much stuff you hear on the radio, you know. And then, you know, Quimini comes out, and it's this glorious disc. Has everybody heard of Quimini?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, who hasn't heard of Quimini? Raise your hand. Shame on you. What is wrong with you? No, it's one of the greatest albums of all. I consider it the perfect album. Although some people might disagree with me. You know, some people might call it Illmatic or Reasonable Doubt or, you know, 36 Chambers or whatever, what have you. You know, those might be your perfect albums. But for me, Aquemini represented the perfect album. It represented the kind of the most important thing in my life. Like, when I got that disc, you know, I listened to it like nonstop, you know, for you know, months and months and months. And then that Common, like Water for Chocolate, came out. Then I went and picked up Forever, you know, then I picked up 36 Chambers. And then, you know, so that was my training wheels. I needed the, you know, the first type of hip hop, you know, that I ever heard, no matter how corny it is, you know, that's what gets you into the more hardcore stuff. And then once you get there, I mean, even like things like Outkast and Wu-Tang and Nas and Biggie and Jay-Z and all those people, those are still training wheels for even the more like doper, more deep underground artists. When you get into ultramagnetic MCs, you know, when you get into KMD, there you go. There you go. That's what I'm saying. What else we got?
Lauryn Hill.
Lauryn Hill.
Yeah.
Who's that?
LG.
Gucci Man. No. So yeah, so it basically works out like you need those training wheels. And so like, I mean, kind of my message here, my point today, and I'm gonna keep talking about this, but like, you know, be good to your uneducated hip hop brethren, right? You know, because you know, something I figured out kind of in a long time. I mean, I was a head, and I'm still a head, but I was a mean head. You know what I'm saying? So if you know, if I loved 36, that was my greatest thing ever, right? You had to love it too. And if you didn't love it, you was whack. You was a hater. You was terrible. You know, and if you had never heard of Wu-Tang, I made fun of you. You know, and what that does is it alienates people from hip hop. It alienates people from this culture. You know, it alienates everyone. We want to make this accessible, and hip hop being accessible doesn't make it pop. You know, just because a lot of people like it, and looking at you know the diversity in this room, like, I mean, is everybody from South Bronx here? Who's from the South Bronx? No one, right? I mean, anybody from New York? Nobody. Anybody from America?
You say from New York? I'm from here, rather.
Oh, you're from here? Oh, okay, so everybody's from like Toronto or Canada or another country or something like that? Yeah, so just this room proves like how diverse and how open hip hop is and how far it can reach, how many people's lives it can touch. And you guys would have never gotten that music if the original heads were all haters, you know? If they were all so cloistered and so like removed from the rest of the world that they couldn't like share like the love of music, you know, with someone else. You said what?
They used to have to borrow a tape.
That's what I'm saying.
Before they
Right?
get that tape, they're not getting the tracks.
I mean, that was the original part of one of the things in hip hop, right? Was like, you know, you dub somebody a tape. And I'm talking about like a real tape. I'm talking about a piece of plastic with tape inside of it, right? Everybody remembers cassettes and all that. I mean, like, and that's what we used to do. Like, I used to do that as a kid. Like, I used to, you know, I don't know if everybody else did this, but sit down with your boombox, you go to the radio station, right? And you find the really good, there's always one good hip hop radio station. And it's always, they always play the good hip hop at like 10 p.m., like, you know, really late at night when nobody's listening, but that's when you get all your Nas's and your Biggies and everybody else, you know, and all the other trash is off the radio. And you sit there and you put your tape in, and then you press play, you know, you press record, and pause real quick, right? and then you always mess it up. There's always that little gap, but you know, there's something about that love, you know, of that tape, right? Like the time and effort that you put into it. I mean, that I don't see in hip hop anymore, and I don't see it kind of in like the sharing of music now. You just like you make a playlist with 1,000 songs on it for somebody. You know, I'll just give you the entire like you know Wu-Tang discography, even though like you know out of that there's like 12 trash CDs. But what happens is like, you know, you create this little piece of love that you share with people, right? And on that little piece of love, you know, there's all the little like foibles that come with it. You know, there's all the little like, you know, the way you mess up like the recording the track, you know, the way, you know, a commercial might come in, you know, there's static, it crinkles, it pops, but it's love and it's share, and you can share that and you pass it around, you know? And that's what I think, you know, we should still keep doing with hip hop. And that's what I try to do with hip hop, you know, and it's something that I love. I love talking about it. I mean, I love hearing about new artists. I love, you know, like getting hooked on like new things. You know, when somebody came to me and was like, "Yo, you ever heard of this cat named Zoxia? You know, like from France. You know, he's a French rapper." And I'm just like, well, that just defeats the whole purpose of hip hop for me, right? Like I can't understand the lyrics. But then I checked them out, right? And just because somebody was like, "Yo, check this out," and they weren't hating. They were just like, "Here's something new." So I go check out this French hip hop artist. I listen to it, and it's dope. And now I'm like passing it around to everybody else, you know. And that's kind of like that's the genesis. That's the way it works. You know, you hear something dope, and you pass it on. And that's what I'm gonna kind of ask like all of you to do today. You know, like don't be a hater. You know, like don't go around like dissing people for not understanding hip hop. Don't go around dissing people for not feeling the same beats that you feel. You know, have a good conversation, discuss it. Like I said, me and my man Toshi right here, like who, like we talk about hip hop. We have really good dialogue. We have completely different tastes, but we can come to agreements on very specific things about hip hop in general. And that's kind of what I like about the whole world. It's so diverse. It touches so many people's lives, and it gives such a good feeling to lots of different types of individuals. That we need to keep pushing that. You know, we need to keep telling people about it. You know, and it's not just the music that I'm talking about. It's about the whole culture, the whole 5 tenets. You know, and that's one thing that's been good to me. Because that first love of hip hop, first hearing Fresh Prince and then moving on to Wu-Tang, and by the way, Wu-Tang is my favorite group of all time. Anybody else? Yeah. I mean, if it's not, then I'm gonna hate on you right now. But no, Wu-Tang is my favorite, and that helped me define exactly what I wanted to do. And within Wu-Tang, and within a lot of the hip hop that I listen to, you know, if you really listen to the lyrics, all hip-hop artists are nerds. They're absolutely huge. Like, they love comics, they love ridiculous cartoons, you know, they love, like all of that, like, nerdy stuff. They love science. You listen to a cannabis record, like, do you guys understand that? I mean, so you have this, like, this idea, these all these, you know, big words. You have these big understandings and big ideas. And what that did for me was it made me go search. It made me go try to figure out what they were talking about. I wanted to understand what they were doing. I wanted to understand everything about that. So that kind of turned me into a nerd myself, you know, like now I'm feeling them, you know, on multiple levels, you know, like, and to this day, every time I listen, I mean, I'm still listening to Wu-Tang records, and like, oh, like that's what that line means now, you know, like, because I got new information. So it kind of turned me into a professional learner, you know, and to also like put me onto lots of other nerdy things, like I said, like, you know, they're into like comics and all that kind of stuff. And what that did was it caused me to go out, and I started creating images. You know, I started out as a graph artist. You know, I did my little vandalism thing. You know, I wrote my name on walls. I was a terrible graph artist. I was not good at that. But you know, and I think it was because I was scared. You know, I wouldn't get my ups, and if there was like 2 people in the street, I'd be like, I'm not gonna write on the wall. You know, so which is, you know, you can't have any fear as a graph artist, right? And what that did was it started to get me drawn. You know, so I had my genesis with the music, and then I had my genesis with like, you know, getting myself into becoming a more knowledgeable individual, and then that put into that like my artistic ability, and I started drawing my favorite rappers, you know, and I started like creating logos for them, and you know, I remember I actually sent Ghostface Killer a portrait I drew of him, and I expected him to like be like so awe-inspired by my 12-year-old drawing of him, you know, like that he would like come and pay me lots of money, and just like, you know, you want to be a part of Wu-Tang now, you know, and like, nah, like that didn't happen, right? So I kept pushing and kept pushing and kept pushing with you know, my artwork, and like, you know, connecting it to hip hop. And so I started like drawing comics. I made like hip hop comics, and I made hip hop paintings, and like that was my life. Hip hop was my life, and it still is my life to this day. And you know, I live and breathe it, and I try to put that into my work as much as I possibly can. That's something that's very important to me, is to put into those to my work sort of the tenets of hip hop, and this idea of, you know, sharing knowledge and sharing information with people. That's something that I really enjoy to do, and that's why I'm a professor right now, because my main goal in life was to talk to people, to share my knowledge and share my understanding of things, and to not be a hater about it, you know, like to be really forthcoming with myself and be really open, you know, and say, hey, check this out. This will be good for you, right? And I wanted to share that with words, and I wanted to share that with visuals as well. And so like now I'm drawing comics. I get to do hip hop comics, and you know, I get to teach and talk to people, and I get to do things like this, which is really important to me. I want to have some good conversations. I want somebody to put me onto something new today, like, and yeah.
Fourthbiggestcity.com.
Fourthbiggestcity.com.
Fourthbiggestcity.com. You will enjoy it.
Okay. I'm gonna write myself a note. It's so open. I mean, it's rhyming over beats, right? I mean, it's that simple. And I won't say anybody can do it, but like any culture can create their own version of that. I mean, you got like baile funk, you got like grime, you know, you got what you were talking about, like we're trip hop, you know, that comes out of Bristol, right? And it's like that's easy to manipulate, you know, that's easy to sort of like go, okay, people love this, and then we have a saturated market.